This is probably the biggest seismic shift that the Jewish people worldwide has experienced in our lifetimes, right? My grandparents who have passed away, who went through the Holocaust, it's another story. But in my lifetime, this is the big seismic shift. And we don't know where it's going to land in terms of us as a Jewish community. What happens next? Where do we go? So what we do is we process, we talk about it. We talk about what's happening, and we have ideas. We formulate them. We formulate strategies and what have you to try to encounter the changing world around us and strengthen ourselves. Today's topic is friends, betrayal, and abandonment. I will share a few things from my experience. I want to share something from one of the guests that I would have brought on, and I'll explore some of those ideas, and then I want to hear from you. This has been a very revealing period of time for many of us. Not necessarily happy, but a revealing one. I don't know about you, but I always knew all my life that there was anti-Semitism in the world. We would see it in little windows and little moments, little exchanges with people, right? We would see it over there sometimes. We'd see it in some way, in some subtle ways. Oh, did you hear what they said? Oh, that news coverage wasn't okay. Now things changed dramatically, and they're affecting some of us in the sense that people in our inner circle, a little close to us and inner circle, we're like, oh, they think this way. Oh, they think that way. Oh, they think this of me. Oh, they hate this about me. Oh, they're not there for me. One of the people that I wanted to have today, he's an Emmy Award winning actor, and he's a Jewish advocate. And his bio is much longer than what I just said, but I will leave it at that. His name is Yuval David. He's an American Israeli. Released this letter to his friends. It's a message to my friends. And I want to share that with you. And then we will talk a little after that.
This is a message to my friends, possibly my former friends. We shared milestones, we raised glasses in celebration, we found solace in our unity. You attended parties in my home, sat at my dinner table. We broke bread together. You came to my film screenings and plays. You were my +1 at fabulous events. You did all of this with me. A Jewish, Israeli, American. And when you faced challenges, when your relatives were ill and dying, when life's hardships were at your doorstep, when your community and people were attacked, I was there for you, calling you regularly, checking in, supporting you, marching with you, sitting in the trauma with you. Yet when the sirens of conflict sounded, when the genocidal terrorists attacked the Jewish people in Israel, your silence became a deafening roar of indifference. When anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic threats, attacks, and violence happens around the world, even in our own cities, where are you? Where are you when the outcry for justice needs to be echoed, when the battle for human rights is about the rights and lives of Jews, when propaganda and hate speech and violence needs to be challenged? Too many non-Jewish friends reacted without reaction, with silence. Silence is complicity. Some of you turned your backs on me, on us, or revealed you never really had our backs to begin with, and others became hypocrites, speaking out, taking action against Jews, against democracy, against human rights, against justice, for the freedoms you appreciate but apparently believe Jews do not deserve those freedoms and rights to life. We are facing the most significant attack the Jewish people have ever seen during my lifetime. It is traumatizing, a time when friends are needed. Friendship is not a fair-weathered journey. It demands sensitivity, courage, confrontation, uncomfortable truths, support, and above all, integrity. I stand amongst the turmoils of war, heartbroken but resolute, calling for truth to be made known. This message might be a farewell to the bonds broken by betrayal, yet it is also a plea for you to awaken to the cries of humanity. May your conscience guide you back to the path of true allyship, of truth, of justice against terror. Otherwise, we are done. And maybe, not only are you a former friend, maybe you were never really a friend to begin with.
Powerful piece, in my view. And he's an actor, but he's speaking his experience. And I think from people that I've encountered in my life at the last few weeks in the congregation community and beyond, from my own life, what he said rings true for many of us. I wanted to speak as well about my own experiences, and with the assumption it's going to resonate with some of you, and discuss some of those. When these things happen, we have these moments of realizing what our friends or people in our circles think, and they're disconcerting. How do we feel about it? How many chances do you give? How much do you engage with that person to try to change their mind or convince them, or do you not? What's the limit? When do we decide that that's it, if it's our choice? And look, for me, I subscribe to a position that rock star David Lee Roth has expressed from Van Halen, and he said, with anti-Semitism, you don't get 3 tries with me. It's 1 try, and that's it. He might have phrased it a little more colorfully than I did, but that's his point. So October 7th, we're seeing this. I'm seeing this, and many of us are going, whatever pain we're feeling, we're also thinking, everyone sees the same thing I see, right? So I have a friend, first I'll mention, I know it's hard to believe, but I had a barber once, when I lived in Hamilton, outside of Toronto. And he owned the barber store. And he's a Facebook friend. We're not close, we never were, but he's a Facebook friend. October 7th happened. 2 days later, October 9th, he reaches out to me and writes, Eyal, murder is wrong and terrorism is wrong, but let's face it, armies are just better funded terrorists, and there are no war crimes. War is the crime. My heart aches for the victims and their loved ones on both sides of the battle. You're a good man. I hope you and your family are doing well. And my spidey senses were up. I said, there's one try for anti-Semitism. I didn't think that crossed the line. I understood that I was upset with that because he's all mattering it, right? All sides. We're all victims. This is 2 days later. 2 days after the most heinous atrocities that I would put to you that anyone has seen in their lifetimes of people that we know, Jewish or not Jewish. I can't imagine that video footage and images would be this horrific. November 1st, he writes, I didn't write back to him, by the way. November 1st, he reaches out again. And I had written something about anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, and how whatever happens, whatever nuance you might think about what anti-Zionism might mean, in reality, in practice, we see the effects of there are anti-Semitic incidents that happen all around the world, and they're violent. So he wrote to me November 1st. By the way, he's not Jewish, he's not Muslim, he's not Arab, just a guy. It's not anti-Semitism, he tells me. It's not anti-Semitism to not want a well-funded army conducting murderous offensives genocide against the civilian population, the same way we don't want Hamas waging war against civilians. I also don't think that being Jewish is synonymous with being a Zionist, as you've stated in a recent post. When did you become a propagandist, Eyal? And that's when I deleted him. And I was like, okay, crossed lines left and right. He is going to tell me, and I bet you, I'm saying this personally, but I'm saying it because I think it's going to, that you've been in this place, many of you have. Someone who is not Jewish is coming to me, who is Jewish and have been for over 50 years. And you're going to tell me what anti-Semitism is and isn't? Also, why? Why are you going to do that? Why is this person writing? Why did he write to me on October 9th? Why did he feel the need to reach out when Jews have been attacked in the most gruesome way and say something that isn't supportive and say something that is corrective about how I'm thinking? Why? The motive is very, very upsetting to me, right? It doesn't make any sense. It does when you understand what's really motivating someone, right? So the fact that I see, right, we tell people to speak their truths, and you can't tell someone else what their identity is. My attachment to the land of Israel, ancestral land of, homeland of the Jewish people, from the stories of the Bible to the prayers that we recite to my daily life, and in many ways is part of my Judaism. For someone coming up to me and telling me, you're being political, you're being a propagandist, flush. So someone writes, Cantor, he is not a friend. No, he is not, and he is out of my life. But I'm going to tell you another person, and this one is a closer person than my barber, who I don't go to for various reasons anymore. So there was a musician friend in Hamilton who my wife and I met in 2009 when we first moved to Hamilton. Very nice, very friendly, all that stuff, right? Very lovely in so many ways. She reached out to me on October 13th and wrote the following. This household is sick over this situation. Okay, by the way, in context, this is just under a week. Okay, so hold on, I have a cat going absolutely bonkers behind me. All right, I don't know if the look did it. So she writes to me 6 days later. This household is sick over this situation. My son works for a Palestinian woman who is getting death threats, so her business is shut. She's terrified. She isn't Hamas. The news that Israel is giving the civilians in Gaza 24 hours to move to the Egyptian border isn't enough time, as humanitarian groups are scrambling to save these people. I'm sorry if I'm offending you, but those poor people are to be slaughtered if they can't get to the border fast enough. Some are in hospitals or elderly. I try to put myself in their position. It's terrifying what's going to unfold. It's just all wrong, and there will never be peace there. The Palestinians want Gaza as their own. Why does Israel have to have it? Just like Russia doesn't need Ukrainian land. When is it enough? I'm so sorry, but there are many people who feel the pain of the people killed in Israel last week, but it's not going to end. The vicious groups like Hamas that rise up out of anger are not going away. It's just also terrifying. So, thresholds. How much leeway do we give? Do we engage? My answer to that was to delete her from my life entirely, immediately, and not explain. I blocked her from, my social media, and I didn't, I said nothing, explained nothing. I understand that. Sorry if I'm offending you. You are offending me. I am very offended, and I'm not interested in continuing this friendship as much as we had a nice one. There's so much wrong with this. There's so much. Where to begin? If your household is sick over it and you hate what you've seen, why didn't you write me on day one? about the Jews that were killed and raped, about the I'm not going to go to the gruesome parts. Why didn't you write on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4? Why not? Why didn't you express the same, even a fraction of this outrage? It's only expressed in the context of saying, I also care for that side a little bit. But your outrage, her outrage, is entirely about what could happen with Palestinians, and only that side. And why does the Hamas, why did Hamas do what they did, as awful as they may be in her mind? Because they're angry. They're angry at us, which indicates there's a justification, right? And she also has her facts wrong. All they want is Gaza. Why does Israel have to have it? Israel doesn't want Gaza. Israel doesn't own it. So there's I could have gone, one could go with the side of education. You have this wrong. You have that wrong. Okay. Now, I don't want to be critical. I love my wife, and I want to underline that she is friends with this person too. And she tried a different approach. And I respect that, because she wanted to give this person a chance, and she had different correspondence. And I want to talk about that. Okay. And then we'll open it up. So to me, this person wrote 6 days after the horrific massacre. To my wife, she wrote October 9th, 2 days, same day that other gentleman wrote to me, the barber. And she writes, many are thinking Hamas, to my wife, many are thinking Hamas is representing all of Palestine, which is unfortunate. I believe in safety to all the Jewish and Palestinian people. The radical extremists are the problem in all religions and governments. I only wish for peace in that part of the world. Enough bloodshed on either side. I hope this doesn't offend you guys. Keep well. And understandably, my wife didn't feel that crossed, it offended her, right? But it didn't cross certain lines. But I'm not another person, and I can't tell that other person what to do. The same way, whatever we discuss here, I want to have this discussion and not tell you here, the right answer is this, and you did the wrong thing. That's not my point. It's just grappling with this and recognizing that we have different ways and different lines, and what is that line? But processing what the person is saying and why, and what is okay with that, what's not okay with that. In this situation, 2 days later, all bad. Violence happens. Radicals on both sides. What? Condemn this. This just happened. This just happened. It was so awful. It's in front of you, and you don't say a word about that. And my wife, in just in terms of points, tried to reach and say, look, we are devastated. This is how we feel. I want you to know we are devastated. We have family there. Another point. Okay, there's this personal connection. There was also, she also mentioned, I was a little bothered by how you wrote that message. I'm struggling with the fact that instead of asking if we're okay, the first comments you make is raising concerns about the Palestinians and seemingly suggesting that we don't care. So my wife did a great job with that, right? If you're going to take that track, she's trying to respect the friendship and deal with some of these issues, but not shy away from some of them, right? We are devastated. We have family. I don't like the way you phrased that, and here's why. Then she tries to educate her a little bit, saying that what I said about Gaza, well, it's not, what she said about Gaza was completely wrong, and my wife addresses that. My wife tries to tell her about how students feel on campuses and around the world, how we feel attacked in so many ways, and we are being harassed in so many ways. And Australians, and there was the riots there, the demonstrations where they're saying "gas the Jews" and other things to do to Jews. And she also says, by the way, I don't have that in this part. She also says, by the way, I follow Jewish Voices for Peace. So my wife tries to educate her on what JVP is, and that they're really not they're a fringe group that is not really associated with Jewish communities anywhere, and is actually viewed as a hate group, by a dangerous group by so many. Yeah, someone who's not Jewish reaching out and telling us as Jews, here's what a good Jew is. A good Jew is part of this organization that I follow, and I'm not a Jew, I'm not an expert on this, but I recognize them as good Jews. Last bit of this exchange, and then we'll talk a bit. Her response was, Michelle, how was I to know that you have family directly impacted by this horrific situation? Oh. Right? So there's a personal thing, but the point is, yeah. And you have me all wrong. I care more than you'll ever know. I go to bed thinking of everyone impacted by this and wake up thinking about it. I keep asking myself, what could possibly drive any human to commit such brutal attacks? How does it ever get to that? It's a messed up world. And she says, I condemn the attacks on innocent people right from the moment I heard about it. Not to us. And I pray every night that peace will eventually come. I was upset this morning hearing that some hostages died in the bombing of Gaza. I don't know what she's talking about. This is a world issue now. And then after that, she unfriended my wife, and the other way. So this wasn't just about therapy for me to unload on you and explain what we've gone through. And there's more, right? There are people also who've been very, very quiet, who haven't written to us. And that's something that Yuval David was talking about, where people are complicit in their silence. And what they're not saying is telling us a lot. It's telling us a lot. And so with this, as you can see, there are different ways to handle this. And I know friends who've gone through this, and they've tried that route of engaging with friends and trying to educate or inform them in some way. I know people who have family that are these people, meaning they have family, cousins, perhaps even siblings, but the ones I know are relatives that are cousins that are yelling Free Palestine and basically cheering on Hamas, right? What do you do in a situation like that? So I would like to turn it to some of you. I don't know if I can take everybody. Oh, I see some comments here before we turn it to. Yes, someone points out, because October 13th, I mentioned that day. Someone points out that was the day that many Jews had to stay home. And some schools and places were closed because there was a call to globalize that intifada and to attack Jews or something along those lines. One thing to, I think, keep in mind is, and something that Rick addressed towards the end as well, is we're not going to win this thing. There's certain people where you'll never win them over. And it's not reason, it's not logic that has put them there in that other position to begin with. It's a belief system of some sort. And when you have belief, it's not reason that transforms that belief system. It just does not. So, but there are people who are not at that extreme, who have not decided to vote this or to vote that, or to, in this case, to be pro-Hamas. And I think, I suspect many of you know that it's amazing to watch people who are pro-Palestinians conflate every single action by any Palestinian group as being the Palestinians, instead of going, wait, Palestinian Authority might not agree with this, and there's other segments. No, it's all the same thing. Okay. So for those people, there's not much you can do. But there are people in the middle who we don't hear about. The kids on campuses are being attacked by people who may be a minority, but they're attacked, right? So you have to deal with the threat that's in front of you, to deal with the voices that are shouting at you, but there are voices that are silent. I'm not talking about our friends, but people out there who it's worthwhile getting our point across, right? I don't say let's be quiet and not be on social media, not try to reach out to friends, but I'm trying to get to when someone says something that is like this, like what I've described here. What is your threshold for, okay, I'm done now? I said there was a seismic shift in the Jewish community, but this is also part of it in our personal lives. The idea that you have a friend, acquaintance, part of your life, a social, someone part of your social world. So I say friend, all the various degrees of that, who was this before, let's say was this close to you before October 7th, and something like that, well, it's a little further now, if at all, right? But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. I don't mean with everybody, right? But with some people like that, like what you described, how can you go back, right? Now, this is another point is self-respect, right? How many, if I'm proud of myself, I don't want people to walk all over me. So the same way you don't want someone taking advantage of you in different areas of your life, you have to stand up for yourself, self-advocate in some ways, and so that these things don't happen, and you have a sense of self-pride, and you're respected, and you can, move on in life in many ways, and not be taken advantage of. It's the same sort of thing as in terms of friendship, in terms of life. You want to be able to carry yourself off in a way that you can look in the mirror and go, I like what I see here. I handled myself well here. And I'm not letting someone who is hurtful to me or has said hurtful things to me, continue the same way as before, even though it pains me that we have this investment of years and years with each other, this right, these bonds that I thought, and this is perhaps another point or another layer to it is, before I get to that, I want to point out, I think you have to be thoughtful about who you try to educate. This is on the point that we were talking about before. Those who have made up their mind are a waste of time. We need to spend our time on those who are willing to listen. And there are a number, and there's a number of strategies that might work. The trick is identifying who that person is, where that moment is. When I was, 7 years old or so, I loved playing marbles. Right, that was the thing. Marbles. This is because I'm from 1970s. And it's at that point, right? It's a very different era. Loved marbles. I had a Nestle's Quick. I remember this big container full of marbles. And I remember playing at school, and we had like a team, and we were sharing our marbles. And my sister, who was a year and a half younger than me, she said to me, "Stop sharing. You'll have no marbles left." She was so smart. You share to a point, you give to a point, and also you got to self-preserve. And that's what I'm saying with money. Are you being harsh? You owe it to yourself. We're talking about what we owe to others. What about others owing kindness and love and support to you, to me? And I don't mean, right? And I think perhaps this is perhaps what you mean. You don't want to be so aware, so vigilant, that you mistrust everybody, and that you give no one the chance. And I think there is great value in identifying who our friends are and making that circle smaller, but better and stronger. Smaller doesn't have to mean weaker. It can mean stronger. We're upheld with like-minded people who kind of going through the same thing and who love us. I have a neighbor who's not Jewish, who's just been so lovely. Just a couple of times have said the most wonderful things, and just recently was in tears, not prompted by me, but just for what she has seen and what she knows the Jewish community is going through. It's like, goodness, if everyone could be like that, that would be great. But I'll also take the exceptional people, and that's an exceptional person. And I wish it weren't the case that they're exceptional, but they're there, and they're of value. Again, it might be a smaller circle, but it needs to be a strong one. This idea that we in the Jewish community, we're at home in this little pocket over here, society, in terms of society. And as our friends, seemingly some of them abandon us or betray us, and some of these institutions do as well, we're wondering, where is that? Where is my place as a person, as a member of the community, as a community? Where is my place? With a lot of reevaluation happening, and we're seeing some of these institutions and movements, social political movements, ideological movements that are aligning themselves, that are aligning themselves local, defining themselves here as being leftist, but we see that they're aligning themselves with, in many ways, with radical ideology in the form of Hamas and other, and ideology. Then we're like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to jive, or shouldn't, but it does. And so I think that there's a lot of there's an article today, and I forget where it was, had to do with time to abandon DI, and I don't remember where that was. I wanted to click on it, but I haven't had a chance today. But there's a lot of this reevaluation, and this is one of my thoughts after October 7th. Was that we have to evaluate and reevaluate. Everything we thought may have been true one time, whether it was true or not at a one time or not, it is not true now. Not everything, but many things. Who are our friends? Who stood with the Jewish community, right? Who stood with me? Who stood with you? But who stood with the Jewish community? Some of them are surprising and some of them are not surprising, but some of them are we've had friends standing with us that we may not have, we didn't expect. They're like, I don't know how to connect with a person from, the right politically in the States if they're standing with me here at this time, but I value that they stand with, what do I do with that? But we need to have those conversations. We need to have the conversations about, is Jewish education serving our next generation the way it is, the way I went to school served me? Is that serving our kids today? Are we equipping them with the tools that they need? I'm going to other topics because I want to mention, as we conclude wrap up with this one, my topic next week, and I'm trying to secure a guest for this one, is anti-Semitism on campus. Should be done in 15 minutes. No, this is a topic that you can talk for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Concordia University, which was another main university in Montreal, Jews were attacked for having a table with the kidnapped pictures of kidnapped kids and people by pro-Palestinians. The student union put out a message today condemning the university for putting the Palestinians at risk by having those the violence laid in the fact that the pictures were there. The pictures of innocent Jewish children was the violence towards them. So we're dealing with people that have a very different ideology that are affecting our universities and our next generation. What do we do? And I don't have every answer. Perhaps I do in my own mind, but I don't have every answer, but we need to talk about them. This is what I think we need to do. And I think Jews we need to talk about it so we understand the problem. We can reevaluate things and go, okay, we need to make a shift on this. We need to make a shift on that, or we don't stand a chance. And this goes back to what we were saying a moment ago, what this topic is all about, that circle being smaller, but stronger. I don't like being betrayed by some of these friends, but I have no compunction about losing that friendship because, as someone said, they're not friends, or as mom used to say when you're like 5 years old, that was not a real friend anyway. It hurts in some ways. It's an eye opener, but why don't you want to be with people who hold you up? Why don't you want to be with people? Don't you want to be with people who are going to see you, not diminish you, not ignore you, but see you and hear you and connect with you? And if it's Jewish, it's Jewish. If it's not Jewish, it's not Jewish. Let's build our friendships and reevaluate them.